And Ghana's dream to produce sugar locally has set a snag because the Komenda Sugar Factory has been idle for 5 years. The unpleasant news is that the $36.5 million facility is rusting away. Machines have badly corroded and the roofs are badly torn. Jojo Kobna just returned from Komenda and reports that even though the factory is just 5 years old, it looks almost 20 years old.
This is the factory that is supposed to be producing sugar for the country, but it has been idle for 5 years. The roof is rusty and worn out. Before we get into the details of the current state of the factory, let's trace how Ghana found itself in this situation. It may sound basic, but Ghana had a dream to start producing sugar locally. Hence the rebirth of the Komenda Sugar Factory. The old factory, built in 1964, became defunct about 30 years ago. A loan of $36.5 million was invested into the factory. Resuming operations at the factory was a perfect opportunity to do things right this time around and cut down on Ghana's importation of sugar.
So as I speak, every single cube of sugar, every single grain of sugar that we eat here in Ghana is imported from outside. Komenda is going to change that. It is my honor and my pleasure to declare the Komenda Sugar Factory duly inaugurated.
Excitement created the commissioning of the sugar factory in 2016.
The inauguration of the Komenda Sugar Factory will provide jobs. It is estimated that in full production, this project will provide direct and indirect jobs to an estimated 7,300 people.
Unfortunately, the facility shut down in July 2016 because of inadequate sugarcane. It was due to reopen in October 2016, but never did to date. Since then, there has been a flurry of promises to get the factory running.
Because somewhere Cassisia here, and to Swa Cassisia here, Emma factory to me down the amount of land we need for the sugar, the type of sugar we can grow here, all those things were not properly organized. I think the our organization. The organization and also the between strategic investor and also into me aba bisomu nanche obeti bibi papa free menum enche kra.
But it took 2 years before the government announced a new investor for the sugar factory.
This factory, like any other factory, will keep on needing ongoing investment, ongoing retooling, and if that is done, definitely it will keep running and it will bounce back.
When are you starting work?
We are waiting for the final agreements to happen. After that, we'll start working.
It is past the second week of August, and the Komenda Sugar Factory remains closed. Currently, the facility is in terrible shape. A comparison of the factory in 2016 and 2021 shows the factory is deteriorating. There sits the Komenda Sugar Factory in its rusted glory. It has been abandoned for so many years. It is not producing sugar. And there are so many youth in the community needing jobs, and they have none. The plates and rakes that would carry the sugarcane for crushing have rusted. The new investor would have to spend more money to re-revive a new factory that was shut down just months after commissioning. A journey to the roof with a drone reveals further deterioration. Parts of the roof are rusted, worn out and torn. The roof is riddled with holes, and with the onset of the rains, it is obvious the rains seep into the factory. A group calling itself Concerned Citizens of Komenda is upset. Their convener, Samuel Awuja, is dismayed.
I quite remember about last 2 years, the Trade Minister, Honorable Ahunkalin, said the traditional area should look for land. We've been able to do that. We've been able to secure about 3,500 acres of land, and that is even far beyond the expected 2,000. So as for the land, we already have. It is now left to the government to come and operationalize. So anybody who talks about sugarcane and land issue, it's a non-starter. They shouldn't even go there because we have land available, and then the sugar plantation was also done. You know, it takes 6 months for the sugarcane to be ripe for the factory. When the government came in, it's been 5 years.
The land reserved for the cultivation of sugarcane around the factory has been left fallow, and along the beaches of Komenda are people yearning to be employed once the factory is reopened. Joseph Shen is unemployed. His friends who could not stand the pressures of unemployment have migrated to Accra and other parts of the country, hoping to get non-existent jobs. Sharing their disillusionment and absolute displeasure, the residents pleaded with the president to fulfill his promises.
What no kwisi na sise we yedwuma sugar factory or musu pa dey taxpayers money and abana akwa hwebo se we baby no da ba the ma dis wo won wie na aban fofo abada no so wat na adwuma dem akona abanda da ogbe no wat na adwuma ho na adni suwa na adni rust aban we di ehwemo bebre agofo adu na aban we di ehwemo bebre alba bet na the promise akohwi promise ngotin everybody know the promise I could shoot gotin nti akofo ado wodi ehwembo especially commander for wodi ehwembo as the Komenda Sugar Factory be about to da men ebe no waje mu ankasa ho kra de sisi ade ma hu nde se aban biba na be ade this one wo wi a aban fo ba ade no continue you know waje ade mo esuo sisi Ghana dam na wa abadema yadeti akawa na sisi Ghana kawa busi akọ gbogbo na amana ni yada ba ye mbunjuma ma ye nwie ma abafo abama no so am so dem ye me ya listen o ye wankasa o ma fix your sugar factory man na ye rules.
Now we are doubting them so much and we don't believe them. The fact is that for a first term of office 4 years and a second term of office, all this was strategic investor. It has been given to strategic investor. At least, of course, we are young guys here, and such promises have been coming and gone, and we are not seeing anything. So for now, we don't trust them.
Sugarcane farmers are also disappointed. The secretary of the Sugarcane Farmers Association, Aze Kwaku, says his members are now frustrated because they have to give all the harvested sugarcane to Akpatashi distillers at heavily discounted prices. This is because the supply of sugarcane is more than the current demand.
One answer no water. One answer one dozen. Maybe no water so water on credit basis. And so my pharmacy is covered there also winning. And say oma marketing your correct is wutu I shouldn't to. Says you know yedi yo pa yes indi yo ano yizat yizi or you only using there. It may be any key na aduma ujuma what day you may be see. I can't expect a government to obey obotumu abua ma fighting farm and fighting wo to wedimu ma farmers and so you to me yeska.
They have more raw materials than ever anticipated, so they do not pay the farmers on time. Revival of the Komenda Sugar Factory would not affect them in any way. This is because they can always get the molasses from the factory to distill Akpatashi. No crushing of sugarcane, thereby reducing their burden. So even though Akpatashi distillers are benefiting from the abundant supply of sugarcane, they still want government to make the factory operational. The Member of Parliament for the Komenda Edna Iguafo Ibrim constituency, Samuel Atta Mills, asked the Trade Minister in Parliament when the factory would be operationalized.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry, working in collaboration with its transaction advisor PricewaterhouseCoopers Ghana Limited, is in the process of concluding the conditions precedent for the activation of the concession agreement with a selected strategic partner, Park Agrotech Limited, to commence operations at the Komenda Sugar Factory. government has a right to terminate the agreement. But be that as it may, we are hoping that they will conclude and finalize the fulfillment of these conditions conditions precedent by August this year. And then once that is done, it paves the way for us to require the company to commence activation of the company before the end of the year.
Until the factory becomes functional, it will remain a museum of monumental wastage and failure. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.